This video is on the upload function in PowerApps when you're taking a file into a document library. There's no out-of-the-box function, so let's get started. So this is just my title screen. It doesn't do anything except take me to the upload form. So let's go ahead and click on this and we'll go into the form. Now this is a custom form. There's nothing special about it. It's just a bunch of controls laid on the canvas. Okay. You got a combo box. You got a attachment control, which I'll show you how to get that later. It isn't native to PowerApps. Okay. You got a drop down. This drop down isn't required, but I wanted to show you the different, you can make a custom name that you pre-formatted, like a naming convention type name, or you can use the original name of the file that comes with it. Okay. Now, there is a gallery right here that you cannot see, which we will make visible later when I explain how this works. So I'm just going to initially I'm going to show you that it works, and then we're going to go through and show you how to create it. So now, if you use an original name, this combo box doesn't do anything. I mean, it does collect information, but you don't use it. If we do a custom name, it uses the first and last name of the person who gets put in the combo box as part of the file name. So we'll start with that. Okay. So I'm just going to put a random name in here. We'll use Diego. Okay. I'm on a dev environment, so I have like 25 make-believe people in here, and he's one of them. So now you don't have to put this in here, but I do it to let me know that this combo box is actually doing what it's supposed to. Now we're going to attach our file, and I'm going to select, I don't know what this is, I'll just pick it's a random file. Hit open. You'll see it load into here. Now down here I put a text box just so it shows me that the content loaded. And then now if this is blank like this, you'll notice that I got it where it's grayed out. So you need all three things to load. So we're doing a custom name to start with, and then we're going to hit upload files. And then once it's done, you'll say success. If it uploads to the document library, if it doesn't, if it errors out, this won't come up. So it says your file has been uploaded completely successfully. Your SharePoint file ID is number 9. And then here's a link to the file. And you'll notice it goes his last name, his first name, and I put this text in here, file I uploaded, and then this is in the format of year, month, day, and then a space, and then the time, so it's hour and minute, and then AM or PM. Okay, yes, I'm doing this at 10:21 at PM at night. I don't have time to do it during the day. Alright, so once you're done, you hit close, and it takes you back to the main screen. Alright, we're going to go back in. Now we're going to do an original name. Okay? Now, we don't have to fill this in, but I have it set up so all three of the things have to be filled in. So we're going to grab another name. I'll use Alex this time. And I'm going to grab the exact same file. Now, the reason this works is because they're not going to have the same name. Okay? Now, the reason this says max number of files reached is because I got it set to one file only as the max number. You can set this to whatever you want. I think you can do up to 30 without any problems. And we're going to go through that later. So, you're going to hit upload files. And it should say success again. It says it's number 10. But you'll notice that the name of the file is exactly the same as the file that was in here before. Now, when it runs, I clear everything out. I probably need to reset this too, just so it's blank. But when you click on this link here, it will open the file. And you hit close. Okay? So, that's all it is. Alright, now, let's start going through this. First thing is the combo box. Okay? The combo box is used with the custom name. What I could do is turn on the visibility so if it doesn't say custom name, it doesn't even show up at all. And then I could program it into the thing, but I didn't want to go into that much detail. But if you're building an app, that's essential that you do stuff like that. You don't want them filling in anything extra that's not necessary. Okay, so let's look at the combo box first. So the combo box for the items, this is the only command you really have to have. Okay, this will actually break. This will do what you want it, but the problem is when you click into the box, you'll notice when you click in the box, no results show up. If you don't have this whole thing in there, that's what'll happen. You'll get every single person in your Active Directory show up in the list, which is bad. Okay, it it's really annoying. So what I did is there is a property inside the combo box called search text, and if there's nothing in it, hence the not is blank, it will not run this command until something is in there. That's why when I hit space, it started searching. That's just an easy way for me to bring up a list. I only have like 30 people in my Active Directory, so it's not a big deal. But if you got 10,000 people, that could be an issue, right? So that's why that's there. Okay, so there's that. And then for the input placeholder, when it's blank, I said enter your name. You can put whatever you want in there. And that no selection text don't matter. I'm not even going to bring that up. Select multiple, I set it to false because I only want one name in there. And I think that's it. Yeah, so it's a simple setup for the combo box. Oh, also, make sure you come over here, select edit, change these to display name. By default, they come up as city. So when you do your search, of course, when you put your name in there, nothing's going to come up because it's not going to match any cities that are in your Active Directory. So you need to change that. And then you can come down here as well, turn off multiple selection right here, but allow searching must be turned on. Okay. And that pretty much covers the combo box. All right. Inside this container right here, it actually can, in this case, it contains 4 things. One of them you can't see. So let's go ahead and bring that visible up. So we're going to go, it's a gallery. It's a vertical gallery. And I only use it to collect information. It's not necessary to be visible. That's why I don't have it visible. All right, so let's attach a file here so I can show you what it does. Okay, so we're going to attach file. I'm going to do a picture so you can actually see the image because there's an image control in there, and if it's a picture, it'll show an image. All right, so let's go pictures. I'm going to grab do the Adobe image. Wow, why did that come up? All right, so as you can see, it puts the title in here, and it puts an image. Okay, now, as you can see, I have original name selected here, so it's putting the original name in here. If you put custom name, watch what it does. Now, since I didn't put nothing in the combo box, that's why it's giving me this error. It says a blank value is passed. So, if I put my name in here now, it will put something in here. So it goes the way I do it is my last name, my first name, the words file I uploaded, and then today's date. Now, I think it cut off part of it. So let's see here. Let's go ahead and extend it all the way out. There you go. So this is actually the full file name. Now, I use this gallery to create the JSON that is required to send it to PowerAutomate so we can create our files, right? So what it does is it uses this field for the file name, and then I use this data inside this image control as the content bytes, which is what the bits and bytes of information that is which makes up the file. Okay, and it'll create an item for each one, but since I got this set to 1, it'll never be more than 1. Okay. And then of course you got the drop down here. Um, oh, when you're setting up this gallery, your items will be the control name of this dot attachments. Okay. And then individually items in here. The image control will be this item dot value. It'll say sample data, sample value data or something like that when you first bring it in. Make sure it's a vertical gallery and it's not the blank vertical gallery. It needs to be vertical gallery. And then what I do is I set the gallery to image and title because that's the only two things I need. I don't need all the rest of that stuff. Okay. And this is this item dot name. As you can see, let's see, let's bring this down. As you can see right here, I'm using this item dot name all over the place in here. Okay. But I'm doing something special with this. I want the name to be a certain value, right? So it works off this drop down. So I'm doing a condition statement up here. It says if this item name is not blank, which is from this data source right here, and drop down 2, which is what this drop down is, dot selected dot value equals custom name, it's going to run this. Okay. Which is basically it's setting the last name, the first name, that text, today's date, dot, and this whole part right here, I think it's this. Nope, it says. Nope, it's not that either. Okay, all of this is just to determine what the extension is. Because not every extension's got 3 characters in it. Some has 4, some has 2, some has 3. So what this does, it dynamically grabs the extension to ensure the extension's always right. It could be .js, it could be .pdf, it could be .html. And there's another one. There's a 5-letter one. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but it doesn't matter how long it is. This will actually fix that. Okay, that's assuming it says custom name. Now, if it says original name, it's just going to grab this item dot name as is. Okay? And then if it's blank, if this drop down is blank, it's just going to report a blank value because I put that in there so that way it doesn't create an error. Because it will. But this is required to have something in it. If you're using custom name. So I need to, I mean, if I'm going to make this work correctly, I need to do something extra logic to fix that. So that's that. Okay, now we're going to talk about the image control, or not the image control, the attachments control. The way you get this is kind of off the wall a little bit, but it works every time. So what I did is on this other screen, we're going to clean this off, and I'm going to show you what I did. First thing you do is you're going to pull in a list. Okay, so you're going to add a SharePoint list to your app. But it's only going to be there for like 2 minutes. You don't need it for anything. So you're going to go down to SharePoint, select your connection, select your site, and then you're just going to grab a random list. It doesn't even matter which one it is. You're only going to need one field out of it, and then once you grab it, we're going to take it back off. So you're going to come up here now, click into the canvas. You're going to select Edit Form. Now, your first instinct is going to be to click one of these or come over here and click one of these. But don't do that. Because what's going to happen is it's going to populate every field in that data source. We don't want that. So the data source is already up here. So just click up here and just type in, just start typing and it'll pop up. Okay? But when you do this, it's connected to your data source, but no fields actually populated, which is good. Okay? So now you go and edit fields, add field, and you're going to grab the attachments card and then hit add. Okay, it's going to add it. Okay, we don't need this anymore. Now, when you're going into this, you're not only going to click on the card, you're going to click in the card. We only want the actual control itself. We don't want all the other stuff that comes with it. Because when you click in here and select the card has a lot of elements in it. Okay? So if you expand the card down here, you'll see it's got 4 fields in here. You got your star field, you got your error message, you got your data card value, which is the actual control. And then you got your data card key, which is, you know, the little text, a label at the top that says what it is. So we want this. Okay? So you're going to control C, and then you're going to click outside the form, and you're going to click control V as in control Victor. The way you know it's outside the form, it takes up the whole screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to bring it back over here just to get it out of the way. And then I'm going to click the form. I'm going to hit the delete key on the keyboard. It's going to remove it. And then I'm going to go back to my data source and remove that list I just added because it's no longer necessary. Okay? Now, we're going to clean this up. So this attachment control has some errors in it. That's because the errors that are tied to because it can't find a data card anymore. So what you're going to do, you're going to click edit in formula bar, and you can set these however you want, but to me, I don't use any of these features that are bad right now. So I just delete the function. And you keep doing it until the red X goes away. I think it'll do it 4 times if I remember right. You'll notice it said parent dot whatever, right? It's referring to the card. Alright, once it's done, now it's usable. Now, here are some things that you should check when you're going through this before you add it to your form. So, like these top 3, that doesn't matter. You can set it to however you want. When you hit on add file, it does a command. That's all it does. Okay. This attached file right here, you can change that right here. Max attachments and max attachment size. You customize this to what your needs are. So if like you're never going to be doing more than 3 files, put 3 there. If it's going to have 10, put 10 there, you know. Or you can put 30 if they want. I wouldn't put higher than 30 though. 30 makes it act weird if you go above 30. And then max attachment size, these are in megabytes. So if you want to restrict how big of files are getting put in there, you can do that here. I usually just set it for 1,000 because I haven't seen any PDFs or Excel documents or Word documents that are over a gig. So it's pretty safe to say that's okay to go with. Max attachment text. So like when you do hit that limit, that's what it displays that there. And if there's nothing there, this is what it displays. So as you can see here, and you can remove it, and it'll take it, and it works just fine. It's up to you. This just allows it to reset the control, and the rest stuff is just color stuff. I mean, you can play around with this if you want to. But that's pretty much. There's a lot of controls here, but I don't. The ones I talked about are the only ones I really mess with. And that's how you do that. So, okay, let's go back to our original screen. And that's this. Okay. Now, the last control in here is the upload files. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and re-hide this gallery because we don't need it no more. Don't forget to hide it because it looks weird otherwise. So I'm going to hide this. And then I'm going to recollapse my thing back up because I don't need it that wide. Now you'll notice that my label right here auto adjusted to my width. So I have it set the parent.width. So whatever the parent width is, it makes that width that size. Upload files. Okay, so let's talk about that. This is the heart and soul of the whole system, other than the flow. Okay. Don't let this overwhelm you. It looks like a lot. It's really not. It's just I'm going to break it down so it's in bits and pieces for you so that way it's easier for you to understand how it works. Okay, step 1. We got to create a collection. What it does is it creates a collection from the gallery that we just hid. Okay? So, this text is going to stay the same no matter what except for a few things. Okay? So, this gallery name right here, depending on what you call your gallery name will go right here. Okay, that's inside that. That's hidden. Okay. Now you can change these column names if you want, but it's best to leave them the way they are. That way you don't run into unnecessary problems. Okay. Base 64 means it's just we're gonna create it. We're gonna create a base 64 column so that way we can translate the bits and bytes to the thing. Because the base 64 is the contents of the file. Okay. Now this right here, its sole purpose is to remove two quotes, or double quotes, whatever you want to call them. Okay. You cannot have those quotes when it pulls from the image control. It'll say quotes, all the content, and then quotes again. When we go to convert this to JSON in the next step, those quotes can't be there because the JSON puts quotes around them. So then it'll be quotes and quotes, and it'll error out. So what this does is it removes the quotes. Okay. As you can see, it converts it to JSON right here with the JSON command. And then it starts looking for stuff and it basically removes the quotes. Okay. And it saves that data to base 64. Now here we're doing an add columns. So we're adding a title field here. And I'm using title1.text as that data. And then I'm doing a show columns up here to show that the base 64 column and the title column need to be visible in the collection. Now, I could actually put just one or the other, but I need them both to convert it to JSON. Okay. Now, if you had like 20 columns in here and you only need 2 of them to be shown for this conversion process, then you can put whatever. But these are only 2 columns I have, and I need them both there. Okay. Next command, step 2, is we're going to convert that whole collection, because see, you got cold files right here. Now, if you look at the collection itself, you got your title field, and then you got your very, very long string of characters in base 64. Now, keep in mind, this is only got like kilobytes of size. If you go like megabytes or gigabytes, you can just imagine how big it can get. So it's converting the collection to JSON, and we're using the format of indent4. For some reason, indent4 is the only one that works for this particular function. So you must use indent4. So literally the only thing you're changing here is this. And I'm saving it to a variable just to save time. Okay. I could take this whole command and put it in here, but it's just easier to reference this. Okay. And then step 3 is to run the flow. Is to run this flow and do the actual upload. Now, you can actually use this. Now, if you're gathering column data to go along with your file, you can run that through your flow as well. It's actually preferred because your file has to get created first because it creates the item, and then you can do an update file properties in flow, and you can update all the columns that you want to. You just have to pass them through here. Now, I do have 2 variables in my flow, but I wanted to make this flow dynamic across many apps. So I'm passing the site name and the library name through my command here. And then I'm having the flow return my ID of the created item. Okay. It's actually because it loops, I'm actually having it create append every time it runs. And then if I have to, I'll just extract. I'll extract it if I need be. I could do a split command and whatever. There's different ways of doing it, but there's only going to be one return because I only got one file that could ever be uploaded. So it doesn't matter. And then after that runs, see this is where I get that success screen from. Okay. And then I reset my. Here, let's go ahead and while I'm here, reset, drop down to there. So we're resetting all three controls, and then it's done. Okay, so this is the whole process. Now, as far as our success screen goes, I'm going to go ahead. Okay, this is my control right here. I'm going to set the visible so it's visible without running it, just for now. Okay, here's our success box. Okay, it brings back two pieces of information. The first thing it says is your SharePoint file ID is this. So like if you look at the ID column of the SharePoint of the document library, you want to find your file you just uploaded. It's going to tell you a number right there, and that's what that GVID was. It's to bring that number back, and then I use the ID to do a lookup for the link to the file name. It's a hyperlink to the file, so that way if you can click on it and it'll actually take you to the file. And then if you're done, you just hit close. Now the close button is pretty simple. It sets my ID variable to blank, which will close it, and then I navigate back to the main screen. Okay. And that's pretty much the whole thing. So let's look at the flow. Okay. There's two ways you can look at the flow. You can do it through Power Automate here, or I like to use Power Automate itself. And this is the flow. All right, so let's go ahead and let's go edit this real quick, and then I'll show you the results afterwards. The flow is pretty simple. So first step, your trigger, which is PowerApps. Sorry, I keep clearing my throat. I went for a bicycle to ride tonight, and I rode like 40 or 25 miles, so it like loosened all my stuff up on my chest. I have bad allergies, so I apologize if I'm annoying you with my clearing of my throat. It's the phlegm keeps trying to come up. So, first one is compose inputs. Okay, the reason I call it that is because it's a compose inputs. I figured it's simple, just do it that way. And then the other two is my page URL, or my site page URL is the actual site name of the URL, and then the library's name that I'm going to. So you'll see these two won't be used until the end, but I wanted you to see that it's there. So compose is like a super variable. I'm just taking my JSON and storing it in here because the very next step I'm going to use it. So we're going to do the outputs of the compose. So when you hover over this, you'll see outputs compose, and then this is the schema of our JSON. So what you're going to do is, if you're going to build this from scratch, you do these 3 steps and you stop. Then you do a test run, and then what you're going to do is you're going to grab the output of this step right here. So if we go back and I look at my last run, okay, you open it up, you come in here and you look at parse JSON, and then what you're going to do is you're going to come down to the output side right here, and you're going to copy it. I think I copied. Then you go back to edit, you're going to go to the parse JSON, you're going to click use sample payload to generate schema. Okay, now whenever you put anything in here, once you hit done, it erases whatever you have there. So if what you put in here is wrong, you just lost all your stuff. Okay, but most of the time this is going to be blank. So you go like this, that's my payload. Okay, now if you don't see any red lines on the right side here, it's good the way it is. Here's my title, here's my base 64, and as you can see, there's a lot of data there. And my file was like 365 kilobytes, I think. It was a tiny file. Hit done, and since it didn't change, it's correct. Okay. Now, if you look at the structure of this JSON of the schema, it's you could do this yourself if you know what you're doing. So, first thing is, what type of JSON is it? It's an array because it's got multiple fields in it. The items of the array are of type object because it doesn't know what kind of data it is. Okay? It always goes with object. And then the properties of that object, we have two fields. Title, which is type of string, and base 64, which is type of string. Now, if you pass dates and numbers and stuff like that, it will change this to what the appropriate data type, and then it closes it out, and then it goes required. What's required to be there? Title and base 64. Now, if you want it to pass blank values, you can remove these, and it'll work just the same. Now, if you want to add another column later on, all you got to do is copy from the comma down to the right curly brace. You just go copy, Control C, go right after where you just copied, and paste. And then all you have to do is change this to the column name, and then if this is different from string, then change the string to something else. And then you just got to put it down here. Okay? But I'm not going to do that. All right? So there's that. Now, this is the data. This variable right here is what I pass back to PowerApps. I'm passing my ID. So you initialize the variable. So you're declaring it for all you coder people. And give it a name. All my variables, I put VAR in the front of it so I know it's a variable. Even though it tells you down below when you look at the dynamic content. It's a type of string because that's what I want. And I don't put no value in here because when I apply the value, it's going to be down later in the flow. But you have to initialize these variables in the root. You cannot be inside and apply to each or something like that because it won't let you. So like if I go right here and I hit add an action and I go to initialize, initialize variable, it will give you an error, but normally it doesn't get me this far, so that's weird. Okay, well, it doesn't matter. Just do it outside the loop. You don't want to do that because it will error when you run it though, because it's doing a loop. It means you're reinitializing that variable over and over, and it's not going to let you do that. You can only initialize it once. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to apply a loop. Now, you don't have to put the apply to each step there. When you add this create file action right here, and you enter either one of these from the JSON, it's going to create this. It's going to create the loop, and it's going to grab the body of parse JSON step because it's an array. It knows it can have more than one item there. So it creates a loop because it knows it can only do one item at a time. Okay. So in our create file, we're going to use our two variables from the top, our site page URL for our site address, and our folder path with the library. Now, you have to put a slash in the front of your library. Now, you can do it through PowerApps, or you can manually put it in there and then put the library in there. I found it easier just to do the name itself from the PowerApps and just put the slash in there. And then these two, this comes from, it says item title, but that's because it's coming from an array from this here, from parse JSON. So it's really the item from parse JSON. Okay. And then down here, Power Automate cannot use base 64 encoding. It has to be in binary. So we're gonna use this command to convert it. As you can see, it says items apply to each base 64. You can use items open, close, base 64 too if you want. It'll work just the same. It's the exact same thing. It's just the way Power Automate sees it. Okay, and then you apply it, and then there's that step. Okay, this is where you're creating your file, creating your item in your document library. Then, after it creates the file, I'm going to append to string variable, in case there's more than one file, the ID, the item ID of each item that gets created. Now, if you say you upload 5 files, it's going to pull 5 IDs. And what I do is I would put a separator in there. So like I go like comma. So it'll be this, the comma. And then what you do is when you pull this back out into PowerApps, what you're going to do is you're going to create a collection and do a split command on this variable, so it creates a table, a 1-row table of IDs. And then you just go in there and grab the one you want. Okay, but I'm only ever going to have one, so I don't need to do that. So I don't have to put a separator in there. Okay, and then I respond back to PowerApps with this ID or this variable name that I just created, and I'm going to use var ID as the data for that ID for this. And if you remember, on this button right here, when you open it up, this right here, see, there's our ID name now. So basically I'm grabbing this variable name from Automate and storing it in this variable. Okay, since I ain't running nothing right now, it's blank, so it's not going to have anything in there. But when you run the flow, you'll see the numbers show up. And then I clear these out, and that's it. And then, as you know, I showed you earlier, it does work. And that's pretty much it. So now what I'm going to show you is this functionality integrated with a form in a different app that I have. It's not in this one. So let me open it up real quick. So we're going to go to PowerApps. Now this is an approval app that I made that it has like 3 levels of approvals, and it incorporates the open an app functionality. Okay, but I just want to show you the upload file portion of it just to simplify it for you, and then I'll show you how we can integrate it with updating columns once you create the file. I have a whole nother video on open an app, which I'll post in the chat if you want me to, so you can look at that as well. Alright, so here's my app. So when you hit get started, well, I guess it's still loading. Alright, so you hit get started, and it brings you into this form. Now, yes, the file has to get loaded first, but when you're filling out until you run your flow, the order doesn't matter. Well, I know for a fact people like to upload files and just go on from there. So what I did is I made sure that was the last thing they could do. They have to fill in these boxes first, or they can't even get to the upload part. So let me play the app, and I'm going to grab a name. We'll just grab some random stuff here. These things don't really mean anything. I just grab something. So once you fill in all 4 of these, you're going to hit add file, and now your upload file box comes up. You're going to add file. And I'm going to grab, I'll do a picture of my driver's license, I guess. Okay. Then you're going to hit upload files. Oh, it doesn't like the username for some reason. That's odd. Okay. So if you go back to whoops. We're going to go to approval screen. It takes some time for it to show. Oh, wow. That showed up really fast. Oh, no, that's from before, I think. Okay, let's assume everything went right. It didn't like that name for some reason, but it uploads your file like this. Okay, this actually is connected to a collection that pulls from the thing, because I had to pull the file ID of the file into the collection as well. But as you can see, it saved all the information that I would have normally put in there. Okay, so let's go back and let's look at how we did this. Okay, so we're going to go back to home, and I'm going to hit get started. We're going to come here and we're going to stop playing. Alright, so let's see if I can get to the file upload portion without having to open it up. Okay, so our file upload is set up exactly the same as the other one. I have an attachment control, I have a gallery, and I attach the gallery to the attachments portion of the attachment control. And then in the gallery, I have an image control, which is this item.value, a title field that incorporates the custom name. As you can see here, it's the same exact formula. And then on my button, this is where the difference is, okay? The collection is pulled exactly the same, okay? Now, these additional columns, you can put them in your collection and then pull it as JSON. Or you can add it to your Power Automate command with variables, you know, using the trigger variables, okay? So on the other one, now this one here, I'm not designating, you know, which site and library I'm using. I did that directly. I did that statically in Automate. So and that's the difference between these two. And then, so here's our JSON that gets converted up here, up in this command right here. And then I'm passing these 5 pieces of information to Automate as well as variables. Okay. So if we go back over to Automate and we go to the appropriate flow, because it isn't this one, obviously. I'm tired. So this one is called Open an App. I mean, the names are similar. When I name stuff, it's function dash where it's pulling from. You know, whatever I name the app, that's what I put there. All right, so let's edit this right here. And you'll see it's a little different, only because of this. I had a condition in here where if you select the persona as contractor, it does different things versus everybody else. But really where the difference is right here is these two things right here. Okay, just assume this ain't a condition and there's only one box here. Okay, so we're going to open up the contractor one. You'll see that I put in my site name, my library name, and then I'm pulling the item ID from the create file action. So if you hover over this, you'll see it's the outputs, create file, body, item ID. Now, keep in mind, there's an ID and an item ID. Okay, the ID field is the file ID. Okay, the actual file itself, it gets an ID created when you upload it to SharePoint. Okay, also, there's an item ID, which is inside the document library. It has an ID column, and that's what this is referencing. Has nothing to do with the file. Okay, you want to select item ID and not ID, the body ID, because if you click on here, you'll see that there is one. It's not showing now for some reason. Let's go down here. Let's go custom value here. There it is. See, it's the unique ID of the file or folder. Okay. and it comes back as a GUID, and it's really wild. Okay. Oh, I need to put the bar back in there. All right. So these variables I have stored up here. Now we're going to use them. You know, the last 5 right here. So in here, I'm going to tag each one of those variables to the appropriate column all the way down. Now you'll see it says 6 of 11. There's more columns. I just don't list them. You got your title, your rank, your date completed, and description. I don't use those. I'm only using these. Okay? And that's how you do that. You create your file, you update your metadata, and then what I did is I created a sharing link down here so that way I could bring the link back into PowerApps. Um, I just didn't put the response. I had to put a response in here if I'm going to bring it back. But as long as I have that ID, I can pull it back. I can pull anything from that ID, that item. So it's not a big deal. But this, we're not trying to pull back that ID because in this app, I actually pull the ID when I create the collection for the dashboard for the approvals. And what I do is on my app on start. I'm not going to dig too deep into this because this is a whole nother video that I already did on this. You'll notice on my collection here that I'm making from my data source is I added file ID in here. This is not a column in my data source, but I went ahead and added it to this so that way I could use it. And you'll see what it's doing is it's running the flow for my file ID. Okay, as you can see, it says get file ID, open an app, and it's passing the ID the record ID. So it grabs the ID field from the data source and it runs that up against the flow, and then what the flow does returns a file ID to this. Because when I'm doing the open an app functionality, I use all these fields fields right here, all 5 of them. Okay, and then I use this and one other field, I think it's the file name, all together when I do open an app. Okay, so like if we go back to the approval screen, and I click on this button right here to show you what it's actually doing, we're going to go to on select. You see it's doing all of this, it's creating a URL based off that information. Okay, these are all my variables on the on start. Here's that file ID I got created from that flow, and then this item name, which is the name of the file, is the file name, and it runs it. And then so basically what it does is it's called open an app. It opens up what it does is it downloads the PDF to your OneDrive to a temporary location, and then it opens it in Adobe Acrobat or whichever Adobe program you can sign in and edit PDFs and stuff like that. And then once you save it and close it, it takes that temporary copy and re-uploads it to your original data source, be it be SQL, SharePoint, Dataverse, whatever, right? So if I run this, watch what it does. It says open Microsoft OneDrive. I always allow open OneDrive, and then the next screen that's going to come up, it's going to ask if you can open it. Open this file. You should only open from a trustworthy source. Yes, I want to open it. And then what it does is it opens up Adobe, which I don't have on this computer because I don't ever mess with Adobe PDFs. We'll just leave it as Microsoft Edge for right now. But you want to open it in Adobe because the browser can't do any signatures. But this isn't a PDF you'd sign, so it's just a run-of-the-mill everyday PDF that is a instruction block. All right. So as you can see, it does work. And this is all our metadata that goes around it. And then I use this complete step to do the thing. So that's pretty much everything I wanted to show you today. If you have any comments, any issues with anything I did, or any improvements you wanted me to do on this to make it more clear, or you think I'm going too basic, good, bad, ugly, I don't care. You put them in the comments. Please like and subscribe to me, because I do videos like this all the time. I just haven't been lately because I've been busy. But I just did 3 videos last night, and I'm going to do this one today. And then probably I'm going to do one more tomorrow because I thought I had the video done already. I went to find the reference to it and I couldn't find it. So apparently I didn't do it yet. So I need to go ahead and do that too. So like in the last couple of days I did 5 videos. So if you want to, and I love feedback. I really do. So please don't hesitate. I'd love to hear your feedback. And I'm going to go ahead and close out this session. Like I said, if you have any questions or anything, just put it in the comments. Please like and subscribe, because if you subscribe and you hit the bell and select all, you'll see all. Anytime I put any videos up, you'll get an email and it'll let you know. So I hope you guys have a wonderful day, night, wherever you're at, or weekend. And until next time.